This episode is brought to you by Vital Farms. Isn't it bullshit to have to question where your food comes from? At Vital Farms, you can trace your pasture-raised eggs all the way back to the source, the pasture. On the side of each pasture-raised carton of eggs, you'll find the name of the farm where your eggs were laid. And when you look the farm up on their website, you'll get a peek at all the sunshine, fresh air, and open space the hens enjoy. Learn more and find out where to buy them at vitalfarms.com. Vital Farms, keeping it bullshit-free.
Well, shopping for a car?
Yep, Carvana made financing a car as smooth as can be.
Oh, yeah?
I got pre-qualified instantly and had real terms personalized just for me.
Doesn't get much smoother than that.
Well, I got to browse thousands of car options on Carvana, all within my budget.
Doesn't get much smoother than that.
It does. I actually wanted a car that seemed out of my range, but I was able to add a cosigner and found my dream car.
It doesn't get much...
Oh, it gets smoother. It's getting delivered tomorrow.
Visit Carvana.com or download the app to get pre-qualified today.
Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast, your go-to source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We hope you tune in often for all things people management, organizational development and change, organizational leadership, and social impact related. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. In this Inc. Insight HCI podcast episode, I explore the recent Inc. video, 3 Tips to Maintain Focus from Steve Jobs. Welcome back to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. It's great to be with you again today for this Inc. Insight HCI podcast episode. Today I'll be exploring the recent Inc. video, 3 Tips to Maintain Focus from Steve Jobs. The late founder of Apple shared his secrets for maximizing focus and productivity. I'm going to share a little bit of my insights as we go through and break down this short video. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you on the flip side of this first clip.
Steve Jobs is most famous for founding Apple and turning it into one of the biggest and most valuable brands ever. Jobs credited much of his success to one word: focus. At the 1997 Apple Worldwide Developers Conference, Jobs shared this brilliant piece of advice. People think focus means saying yes to the thing you've got to focus on. But that's not what it means at all. It means saying no to the 100 other good ideas that there are. You have to pick carefully. I'm actually as proud of the things we haven't done as the things I have done. Without focus, our ability to think, problem solve, and make decisions will suffer. Here's Steve Jobs' 3 tips to get focused.
So clearly a big part of Steve Jobs' success was his ability to focus. Now, he's been criticized for not being the kindest of people, the best boss to work with, etc., but nobody questions his ability to focus and his ability to catalyze the attention and focus and efforts of the teams around him towards a singular goal. And ultimately, he created one of the greatest brands ever in the history of the world, with tremendous brand loyalty and customer loyalty to that brand. So it's a rather remarkable thing. So how did he go about doing that? We're going to lay out several tips from Steve Jobs himself on how he was able to maintain focus. The very first notion that's important to remember is that focus isn't just about like that one thing that you're focusing on, but it's simultaneously about being willing and able to prioritize and to say no to so many other possible good things. We can't do everything. We have finite resources, attention, time, and we can't limitlessly jump from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next without it taking a toll on our mental bandwidth. And so if we want to be able to stay focused, one of the first things we need to do is just really pay attention to our priorities and what we want to pay attention to the most. Let the other things go or delegate them and let other people handle them. And then you can really hone in on that one or two things that you want to really focus on, give your full attention to. Something else I think is really important, we'll discuss more as we go throughout these clips, is it's important to have your times of focus, but recognize there's only so much time you can focus on any one thing. We also need to play. So work hard, play hard, take time with your family, friends. We can't just constantly be focusing on work. And when we try to do that, there is diminishing returns, and ultimately our productivity and our focus will suffer.
Number 1, don't do all the work yourself. Getting as much done as possible in a day means delegating. This may be challenging for controlling types to take on, but it's absolutely essential. To Jobs, the first step is to surround yourself with bright people. The next is to step back and let them work. It doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do.
Delegation certainly isn't a new concept. It's been explored extensively, and we've talked about it on this podcast before, in the management literature, in leadership books. Everyone talks about the importance of delegation. But have you ever thought about delegation in terms of focus? When you are a controlling type of a manager, a micromanager, you can't focus because you are in everyone else's business. You're constantly monitoring what everyone else is doing. So you're not able to focus on the strategic stuff. That's really important for your team, for your organization. So the number one step to being able to focus is to be surrounding yourself with really great people that you trust, that you can share power with, and ultimately delegate to them a lot of the things that need to be done. And as was mentioned in the brief clip, ultimately, if you have great people around you, you certainly don't want to micromanage them. You want to empower them, you want to support them, and then get out of their way and let them do their work. Ultimately, they'll come to you with questions, with challenges. You can provide some guidance and direction, but they'll tell you what to do rather than you telling them what to do. When we can delegate in that kind of a way, then that exponentially expands your ability to get stuff done. So productivity is about delegation, and focus is about delegation. If we can't delegate, if we're constantly having to mentally monitor everything that's happening in our team, then we're not going to be able to get anything done.
Number 2, say no to interruptions and distractions. Technology is one of the greatest gifts of productivity and one of the biggest obstacles to maintaining good focus. The constant distractions from notifications can easily take you off track. Instead of letting tech manage you, manage your tech by avoiding jumping into emails when you start your day. You may get sucked into a whirlpool of others' needs, so do this last. Then, when doing work that requires flow and sharp focus, go airplane mode, turn off notifications, and place that phone in another room.
I love the idea of going airplane mode. Ultimately, if we want to be able to focus, we can't constantly be getting dinged on our phone and getting distracted, whether that's emails, whether that's Slack, Teams, whatever. There's so many different apps and technological tools that can help us get notifications on a whole variety of things. Now, that can be helpful. It can help you be productive. But if it's constantly interrupting your flow when you're trying to really tightly focus on a very specific thing, a challenge, a problem, you're never going to get anything done because you're never going to get into that flow. So ultimately, be willing to just take time where you literally turn those other things off. Don't pay attention to your email. Turn off your phone. Don't look at the notifications. You know, if you think you might get a call from your boss or, you know, from an important constituent, by all means keep your phone on, I suppose, but put it on vibrate and try not to worry about it until you're done with your block of time. And it doesn't often take a huge block of time. Maybe you need an hour, maybe you need 2 hours. People can survive without you for that amount of time. They can go about their day. You don't have to drop everything for everyone else all the time. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you allow technology to support you in your focus and in your productivity, not to distract you and to keep you from fulfilling your productivity potential.
I'm excited to announce the publication of my new book from HCI Press, The Alchemy of Truly Remarkable Leadership: Ordinary, Everyday Actions that Produce Extraordinary Results. Consider how the nature of work has shifted over the past 50 years. With increased globalization, rapid technological advancement, and the shift in economic composition, the average job of today looks very different than the average job of 50 years ago. What will the jobs and organizations of tomorrow look like? Moreover, what does this all mean for organizational leaders? What are the core competencies and capabilities of organizations and their leadership that are prepared for continued disruption and geopolitical and socioeconomic shifts? Regardless of what the future holds, increasingly, leaders need to be socially minded, data-driven, decisive, champions of talent, and disruptors of the traditional notions of leadership, teams, organizations, and work. The Alchemy of Truly Remarkable Leadership will help you to explore your own leadership competencies and capabilities and consider ways to apply and implement them into your workplace and personal life.
And number 3, avoid unrealistic goals. As you think of the countless tasks you're likely to face this week, avoid setting goals you won't likely be able to accomplish or you just can't take on. Be realistic about what and how much you put on your plate. While planning out your day, come up with 1 or 2 primary goals you want to accomplish before close of business. These should be goals that will propel you forward, not sidetrack you from your MO. To ensure success, break these down into smaller tasks in support of those goals, so it doesn't feel like you're staring up at Mount Everest when you begin your day.
Realistic expectations are so important to us being able to get momentum in our productivity and in our focus. If we have unrealistic expectations and we have all these goals and this huge long checklist that we can never possibly get through during the course of our day, we're constantly going to be focused on that list and the fact that we're not checking things off as quickly as we'd hoped, and we'll get discouraged. And instead of focusing on what needs to get done and feeling a sense of accomplishment and then momentum because we are getting things done, we're just constantly discouraged. Let's flip the script, focus on just a couple things, break them down in subtasks, and then over the course of the day, you really just focus on those few things. Most human beings aren't capable of getting a whole long list of things done. You might have a random day where you just are in the zone and people aren't distracting you and you're able to just knock things out left and right, but that's not how most of us function most of the time, and most of the time that's simply not realistic. So focus on reasonable expectations for yourself and for your team, for that matter. When you're leading your team, help model for your people how to set those realistic expectations and goals, how to break down those goals, and how to work towards fulfilling them without feeling overwhelmed and without allowing ourselves to get discouraged.
As Jobs reminds us, focusing is about saying no. It isn't easy, but the payoff can be quite rewarding. I'm actually as proud of the things we haven't done as the things I have done.
So for Jobs, focusing in large part is about being able to just say no. Don't say yes to everyone all the time, because you can't possibly do everything. And the more success you have, the more people are going to come to you and ask for your insights, for your input, or ask you to be involved in this project or that project. And you only have so much bandwidth. And you get to a certain point where things just pile on and on and on, where there's a tipping point, and you get to the stage where you feel overwhelmed, and then your productivity in all areas can really suffer. So be willing, learn how to say no, be willing to say no to people. You don't need to do that in a mean way, and you can do that in a way that's still empowering and supportive to them, that's encouraging to them. You can even make suggestions of other individuals they might approach. But just be realistic with yourself and with them. People don't want you to join a project if you don't have the time to contribute. The last thing people want is for you to say yes and then not be able to do what you say you're going to do, or what they're hoping and expecting that you're going to do. So it's really a win-win for everyone when we can just learn to focus on what's most important, what our top priorities are, and to be able to say no when things are pulling us in other directions that really aren't as important to our overall strategy, our overall goal, whether it's for ourselves, for our team, for our organization, whatever. I really appreciate Jobs and his example for focus and productivity, his laser focus on getting things done, surrounding himself with good people. He was a master delegator. He was a master of just really getting the best people in the room to tackle the biggest problems. And sometimes he was harsh, but he was not afraid to say no, and he was not afraid to challenge people who weren't fulfilling their own potential. Ultimately, I hope we can all fulfill our potential, fulfill our own unique individual potential, our team potential, our organizational potential. And as leaders, that's our biggest job, is to help those around us to fulfill their potential as well. And that happens as we help them learn how to focus. Thanks for joining me for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. As always, I hope you stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you have a great week. We are excited about the launch of HCI's new magazine, Human Capital Leadership. Human Capital Leadership is a free, interactive e-magazine designed to help individuals, leaders, and organizations find innovative approaches to maximize their human capital potential. We will be publishing issues quarterly in August, November, February, and May. Check out the first issue and let us know what you think.
Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. I hope you stay healthy and safe and that you have a great week. Check out our new weekly LinkedIn newsletter, Alchemizing Human Capital, exploring industry trends via original research and interviews with executives and thought leaders from across the globe. We look forward to having you join us.